vamos a recibir en el programa a dos de los actores de la serie de OnDirectV White House Farm. Ellos son Mark, Addy y Freddie Fox. Muchas gracias por estar con nosotros. How are you guys? Welcome.
Thank you very much. Great to be here.
Lovely to be here. Very much looking forward to talking to you.
We too. We as well are very looking forward to it because I understand the series is getting excellent reviews. And I want to start by talking about the story, which is based on real events. Freddie, would you like to tell us about what is it about?
Sure. It's the story of a day in 1985 in the summer in Essex, which is in the sort of rural east of England in the UK. Jeremy Bamber, who is the character I play, called the police early that morning of August the 5th, I think it was, saying that his father had just called him and said that his sister had gone crazy with a gun, and then the phone went dead. And then when police arrived and they beat down the door, they found the entire family in White House Farm murdered, and it looked like that it was Sheila, the sister, who killed everybody and then turned the gun on herself. However, in the ensuing police investigation, it looks, in fact, that Jeremy Bamber might, in fact, have done it himself and framed his sister. And indeed, Jeremy Bamber is now serving a full life term in prison in the United Kingdom.
And this was discovered by your character, Mark. I understand the detective you play. So how is it, how is it for you to play a character from real life?
It's intriguing when it's a story like this, because initially, of course, the police believed Jeremy's story, that he got this phone call from his dad that there's possibly an armed woman inside this house. Of course, they entered the scene and discovered the bodies, and it was assumed that it was murder-suicide. She'd killed everybody else and then turned the gun on herself. That was the official line, but Stan Jones, who's the character that I play, was one of a handful of police officers who went, hang on a minute, we're not absolutely certain that this is the truth. We need to look a little bit further into this. Some of these things don't add up. So it's only through Stan's kind of tenacity and sticking with his gut instincts that the case was brought forward. So it was fascinating from that, as an actor, to play somebody who is so committed to his own his hunch, if you like, that he is willing to go above the heads of his senior officer, which is kind of unheard of back then.
And of course, I assume it is for you. It has been for you. So, Freddie, you do play, as you said, Jeremy, a man accused and currently Prince for life. How is it for you to play this complicated character?
It was exhilarating and tricky all at the same time. Before I took the job, my dad, who I was doing a play with when I was auditioning for the part, he said to me, look, if you get this, sure, I'm sure it's a wonderful part and wonderful scripts, but bear in mind, the hardest bit really might be the promotion of the show afterwards, where you have to talk about it, bearing in mind that everybody involved in this story is a real person, either living or dead. So I was a little trepidatious, but also excited because Chris Mercer's scripts were so good. And then when I decided to take the role, I sort of pursued a multifaceted approach, interviewing people, including Colin Caffell, who is the surviving father of the two boys who were murdered, other surviving officials who were connected with the case. I spoke to criminologists and criminal psychologists, and I did a lot of reading. So I tried to, and listened to Jeremy Bamber's voice a lot to try and get some of his inflection. So it was a kind of all-rounded approach, and I feel very vindicated by having made the decision, because I think Paul Whittington, our director, delivered a really fantastic piece of work.
And you were talking about, there's a lot of information and documentation about this, and you met with people. Were you able to meet the real Jeremy? Did you think for a minute to maybe pay him a visit?
I thought about making the request, possibly, but after a lot of discussion and cogitation with my director and with various criminal psychologists who I'd spoke to, we decided that it would perhaps be unnecessary to make the approach to go and see him, and decided in the end not to attempt to try, because, well, for many reasons, but in the end, that's the decision we made.
And Mark, I understand also that the detective you play has died a few years ago. So were you able to do some research about him, and how did you do that?
He, the real Stan Jones was very, very different to me physically and generally. I've seen a little clip of him being interviewed, and yeah, he is he certainly, but it's more. It's not the for Stan, because, you know, it was different. It's different with Jeremy Bamber, because he's a kind of known face. We know the image that he chose to present at various public occasions, so that has to be. And Freddie did a great job of hitting those, nailing those kind of famous or infamous moments. There's none of that for Stan, so we, the director and I, didn't feel it was necessary to try and recreate Stan as he was, but to try and get the essence of what it is that drove him to, as I say, go over the head of his superior officer, which caused problems, and stick at you know, a hunch that he believed was correct. And it was, and we found it in the first time Stan walks through the house and sees the crime scene, and it's the image of two 6-year-old boys in bed that kind of drives him to find out who killed them. It's a very important story to take it to the TV screen, and I'm sure everybody's going to love it here from this side of the world. Thank you so much for being with us. We look forward to watch the whole mini-series. And now I say goodbye, and I ask you, Mark, try to learn a little bit of Spanish, right? Good, I really should. Thank you so much.
Thanks very much. Bye-bye.